At approximately 2:09 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on Saturday, July the 18th, I'm sad to share that people were on board an Ice Explorer off-road vehicle that was en route to the Athabasca Glacier that had an accident. The cause of the accident is currently unknown. The RCMP are currently on site investigating and will provide an update once information becomes available. It has been confirmed to us that the incident resulted in 3 fatalities and injury to 24 individuals. The RCMP are actively reaching out to friends and family impacted. We are on standby to support those families through the next days and weeks to come. Of course, our deepest thoughts, sympathies are with those affected by this terrible tragedy. With that, I know that Mr. Back, our Vice President of Operations, who's been on site since early on in the incident, accompanied by Jim Martin, who's our Health and Safety Manager, helping the team here as well as assisting RCMP and other first responders to ensure that we provided the best service and care available to all those affected. So given that you have the statement, we can get into a Q&A.
Do you have any idea what happened?
We do not know at this point what the cause of the accident is, and it would be inappropriate for me to speculate until the investigation comes through. So to that end, we're just extending every effort to help the RCMP, Occupational Health and Safety, and the Transport Safety Board in their work.
What is the record on these rigs for their safety?
That's a great question. We average about 480,000 visitors a year in an average year, and we've been operating these vehicles since the early 80s. So we've had over 16 million passengers safely taken out onto the ice over all these years. It's a favorite of literally millions that have come here to visit. So we're deeply saddened with this tragedy today.
So no other incidents at all.
Nothing, no major incidents. Over 39 years, of course, there's a few bumps, but nothing serious with fatalities or critical injuries. No.
Is there any thought of? I imagine you'll probably automatically review your safety protocols once this is all settled.
It starts the minute there's an incident. So Jim Martin, our safety manager, working with the team here, we started right away to review what happened, what is our process with our protocol at every step. And so we're doing that internally, but we also are working with the external teams to make sure that that gets a fulsome review.
I was going to ask. I realize you do your vehicles and you know what you're doing on that. Do you also have to have a look at the roads and that sort of thing, since it's a glacier where everything's changing all the time?
Yeah, it's a great question. The road that heads up to the glacier itself, that is a road that we have under a license of occupation. It's a gravel road. So we have teams that are out there daily while the machines are running and making sure that that road is graded to perfection. Nice. Mostly it's for passenger comfort, a nice smooth ride. So the road is tended to daily, and was being tended at the time, just on a regular maintenance basis.
Are you able to specify? You said you have operated these vehicles since the 80s, so we're talking about these specific buses, or you've done this service since the 80s?
We started doing a tour out onto the glacier in 1969. It was in a different vehicle. These vehicles have been delivering the tour since the early 80s. Of course, retrofitted and revamped all the time with new seats, new powertrains, that sort of thing on a constant basis. We have a very, very high level of maintenance and safety work that's done not only in season but also over the winter months. We completely redo every vehicle.
And are you able to talk about why one of your buses that looks like it may have been this same bus was on a flatbed in Calgary a couple of days ago?
I can't really comment on that, other than the fact that we always have vehicles going back and forth. We use flatbeds to do it. They're not vehicles that are allowed to drive on the roadways or the highways. They're an off-road vehicle. They're not licensed. And so therefore, they have to travel by flatbed. So we always have vehicles going back and forth doing regular service. We have a shop in Jasper where our regular maintenance is done, and then we also have contractors in Calgary where heavier maintenance is done.
But why can't you comment on the specifics, given that, I mean, this investigation is going on right now and there are a lot of people asking questions? That's all.
Yeah, I just think that right now it would be inappropriate for me to make any comment outside of the investigation. I think we need to let the investigators do the work, and then we can all find out and get to the root of the accident.
Do you know if it was that one that was on the flatbed he's
I don't know. I haven't seen the picture and I don't know the date, so I really can't comment on that.
Because, yeah, go ahead.
How is the driver doing?
Thank you for asking. You know, we as a team, we have over 1,000 men and women in the Banff Jasper Collection, and it's a small town, so we all know each other. And so our driver is injured. I can't really give you any details or a name, as the police have not released that information yet. But I could say that we have been in touch with the family.
Can you tell us a little bit about the vehicles? I understand that there's padding. It's kind of like a school bus. There's lots of padding there, but there's no passenger seatbelts. Is that the case?
That's correct. There are no seatbelts on these vehicles. These are off-road vehicles, so they're not highway or road vehicles. They're not licensed to travel on the road, and they're designed for the conditions that you see there, and they're also designed to not exceed 40 kilometers an hour in normal operation.
Because,
we've spoken to someone who said he saw 3 people ejected from this bus. Like, will you consider putting seatbelts on now?
We will wait till the investigation is over, and we will listen to all of the recommendations and anything that we're required to do. But we'll listen to every recommendation that comes through, and we'll certainly act on those once the investigation is through.
because you're under a license, is there limits to what you can do to the road to, say, upgrade it?
No, I wouldn't say that we're limited to the road to upgrade it. Parks Canada expects us to maintain the road to a high standard.
For the drivers, what kind of license do they need to have and experience?
All of these drivers, although again, these aren't licensed vehicles, we require all of our drivers to have a Class 2 license with an air brake endorsement, so similar to anybody operating a highway motor coach. So we go above and beyond that requirement. So that is the entry level, and then once they come here, then they get an extensive in-house training on the operation of the vehicles.
We have 22 of them, right?
We have 22 of them, yes.
And are they all from the 80s? Originally,
No, they are not. We constantly refurb these vehicles, so um, you know, most of them there's very little left of the 80s. Some work in the frame, that sort of thing. But powertrains and wheels and that sort of thing are constantly changed out, and we've actually built a few new ones over the last few years as well.
I was going to ask with COVID, and you have a lot of temporary workers come up the parks here. Has it been difficult finding enough drivers?
No, actually, the driver corps, it hasn't been difficult because we have a team of professional drivers. We call it, you know, they are full-time year-round drivers as part of our other transportation fleet. And so this summer, we actually asked and invited some of those drivers to come and join us here. So we've had probably the most talented cadre of drivers in many years here.
how has COVID, the pandemic, been on you and your company, and now this on top of it?
Well, it hasn't been easy. You know, we were very pleased to be able to reopen and share this magnificent place with Albertans, frankly, and now some folks from BC. And so this is upsetting on a bunch of levels, with mostly the tragedy of the accident. You know, so we'll continue to work through this. I think the strength is in our team. The strength is the fact that we focus back onto our people, and our guests are now our people. We've already reached out to the families to try to offer any support, travel aid, that sort of thing. And we have to still do that through the professional services, as we don't have direct contact with any of the families at this point. But I am confident that in the next few days we'll start working directly with many of the affected.
How many guests have you guys had since you've reopened?
Pardon me?
How many guests have you guys had on the tour since you reopened?
I don't have that answer for you, but it is significantly down. Whereas in a busy day, we normally would do about 4,000 people a day. This year, I think our highest number so far is about 500 in any one day.
And you were operating at half capacity?
Maybe I'll just go here.
Yeah, the police mentioned specialized staff needing to come along to help move the vehicle. Does that include staff from your company?
I believe that the police have sought their own resources, but of course, if they need any assistance from us, as we do have some heavy equipment on site up there at all times, we would certainly extend that to the teams working on that.
At operating at half capacity on those buses? So was it at full capacity as for the per the rules right now?
It was the full maximum load that we could take under the COVID rules, so that would be 26 passengers and one driver. Normally, that coach could carry 56 people.
I understand that you can't really give details about the passengers, but I mean, can you tell us like where they were from? Like, were they any of them from outside of Canada? Were they from Alberta, BC, Saskatchewan?
Unfortunately, I can't give any information on that until the police release that information.
Where do you go from here?
From here, we go back, and I am greatly keen to go to our staff camp, get with the team. As I said, Stu and Jim have been here on site. I've been working in our command center back in Banff this time. So this is my first time getting on site. I will be doing a tour of the scene as well as working with our teams. I really want to connect in with the people and just see how they're making out.
And I was waiting until the investigation is complete before you can resume operations.
Pardon me?
Are you just waiting for the investigation to be complete or the removal of the truck before you can resume operations?
We will defer to the experts, although we're assuming at this point, until the investigation is complete, the Icefield Ice Explorer will not be running. I have time for one more question.
Well, I'm just curious because you guys did talk about this as being a more of a technical briefing. So, is there anything with regards to mechanical issues that you can talk about? We've heard about an issue with the brake line. Can you talk about that?
I'm not up to speed on any of that, but also I think at this time there's a myriad of possibilities, and I think it would be inappropriate for me to make any speculation. We really need to let the investigators do the work and make sure they're focusing on all possibilities. As soon as we have more information, we'll certainly make that available. We just don't want to get out in front of the investigation at this point. We just need to let everybody do their jobs.